What's the hardest thing you've ever said no to? Story 1. A very attractive friend of mine would get drunk after she left her abusive husband. I'd come over for company and movies. We're both completely friend-zoned with each other, but our affection is very real. One night, she got whiskey drunk and decided to go to bed. I walked her to her room, and as she got into bed, she very gently urged me to join her. I really wanted to, but I didn't, and for two reasons. One, while I love her to death, our friendship is the one good thing that's been constant over the past 10 years for me, and I didn't want to risk destroying that as well. Two, she was drunk, depressed, and far too vulnerable for my taste. Who knows what would have happened, but man, it was like walking through a mud pit getting me out of that house when she was down for the night. That man has a lot of willpower. And yeah, they also have a lot of history, so that also tempered his response. The girl was attractive, but he also knows this girl's personality, and I'm sure that was a big part of his decision. It might have been different if he had been secretly pining for her, but this seems to be a real friendship. Story 2. Had my boss's wife approach me at the annual office Christmas party and asked me if I wanted to have a threesome with him. When I turned her down, she offered me $1,000. Still said no, so she upped it to $5,000. I politely declined, but I was dying on the inside. He was hot. His wife was hotter. I thought he'd be awkward afterward, but it was never mentioned between us, and we carried on as usual. Wound up working for him for 5 more years. And when I left, they threw me a huge baby shower and purchased all of the baby furniture I'd registered for. Still keep in touch today, 15 years later. Edit. Beaten to between and punctuation. I think my biggest takeaway from this story is that it's awkward being propositioned, but you carried on as usual afterwards. You could have said yes, carried on as usual afterwards, and been $5,000 richer. Gotta admit, I'd be tempted by $5,000. Did this couple have that much trouble finding additional partners that they had to shell out that much cash for it? And if this person had gone through with it, I don't think they would have carried on as usual afterwards. I think the boss couple would have tried to bring her back again. I'm glad it all worked out in the end. Story 3. My girlfriend of 3 years came home drunk after telling me she had been at work, and I told her she could either tell me the truth of where she had been or we were done. After being with someone for 3 years, it's painfully obvious when they're drunk. This was the third night in a row of her coming home wasted, and I was done dealing with her lies. She walked out and told her we were done. A few days later, she texted, called, telling me how sorry she was and that she wanted me back. Telling her no was the hardest thing I had to do. Turns out she had been cheating on me for a month, and her most recent hookup was done with her drunk too. Story 4. I was trapped in a somewhat spiceless marriage, maybe twice a month. Awful, are you done yet spicy time? Young, good-looking guy, no kids. Went on a trip to Vegas with the boys. Went to a strip club. Hit it off with a stripper. Stripper is a 10. Stripper does all the usual I'm flirting with you to take as much money as I can from you stuff. I keep cool and say no. She dances anyway. Buys me drinks. I get lap dances and drinks for free all night. At the end of the night, she says that if I wait for her, she can go change and come back to my hotel with me. I say no. I'm sorry. I can't. Back to the hotel with blue balls. Are you out of your freaking mind? My friends say. Sorry guys, I couldn't live with myself. I'm married. I love my wife. Fast forward 10 years and my wife is caught having an affair. Probably not her first. Oh, fun times. Story 5. Last night, I took my 9-year-old son to see his mother at a local pizza joint. She asked me in November to keep all 3 of her boys through Christmas because of her chemical addiction. Although she has custody, she showed up ready to fight and I called the cops. When it was all said and done and the kids were loaded up in my car, she handed our birthday boy his present, a kitten. Not only do we not have the finances or desire to keep an animal at the house, my girlfriend's son is deathly allergic to cats. I had no choice but to tell my crying child we cannot take it home under any circumstances, and therefore dealt with the fallout for the remainder of the night. No one ever told us being an adult could suck this bad. This is heartbreaking. This is not a toy we're talking about. This is a real animal. I really hope that kitten found a home. Maybe the guy could have taken the kitten temporarily and kept him separate until he found a good home for him. It depends on how deathly allergic to cats this kid is. I'm sure he had a lot of crying and anger to deal with. So sad all around. Story 6. Going to my college's main campus. My twin brother and I were set to go to college at the same time. Me for an exercise kinesiology degree and him to film school. The cost of the school was upwards of $80,000 overall for the 4 years, and my parents really couldn't afford to co-sign for both of us. So after being accepted to my dream school, I turned it down for 2 years so that I could attend community college first and so my parents could help him pay for school. After community college, I had the option again to go to the university, but money was still an issue. I chose instead to take part in the school's distance education program so that I could earn my degree, keep paying at home, and still earn the same credit. This Saturday, I'll be graduating with my degree in middle grades education and a few prospective job offers on the horizon. Story 7. Slightly different, but I got offered a job which would have doubled my wages, given me industry-wide recognition, taken me to a lovely part of the country, and potentially helped with a lot of mental health issues I had at the time. I had a bad feeling that maybe just making the move away from my friends and family wouldn't be the best thing when I was fragile like that. But God, it was tempting. That was 4 years ago, and I've now been with my girlfriend for almost 3 years. The company has since folded, and I'm 6 months without medication, so I would say that I made the right choice in the end. Edit. Thanks for all the replies. For the record, due to the nature of the job, I wouldn't have been in a position mission to save the company. It was a sports team, and I would have been in a non-sporting capacity. But thanks for the kind messages. Story 8. Oh, I have a good one. When I was young, it was winter, and there must have been about 4 or 5 inches of snow outside. In the fireplace, we had a fire roaring. My family was in the living room. My sister Vera dropped one of her knitting needles on the floor, and I guffawed. And my father Pavel sent me to my room. I stomped away. When I got to my room, I flung my door open, and right there in front of me was our armless Mujik 11 bent over, knees apart, with the most extraordinary gaping anus I'd ever seen. His buttocks crack was like a forest, straggly hairs entangled with more straggly hairs, but the gape gaped overall. I immediately presumed I'd caught him in one of his daily anal finger fun sessions. I gasped lightly and averted my gaze for a moment. He croaked and muttered, "Come closer, boy. Look into my eyes." He once offered me some chocolate, and I love chocolate, but I was full, so I said no. Is this a real story? This whole thing sounds completely surreal, and this is bugging me. If Levin has hands but no arms, how can he reach back there? What am I missing? Story 9. Decided not to study abroad in Australia because my dad wanted me to help him out with his business. Well, a year later, my dad gets diagnosed with cancer, and I help run the business and help him go to all his treatments. He beat all the odds, but still couldn't beat it, and died 5 years after being diagnosed. I was upset. I didn't get to travel the world, but those years were the best years of my life with my dad, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, even though I ended up going $8,000 in debt trying to save his business when the market crashed and it hit his business hard. Story 10. Found a little wallet picture full of photos of a family with $1,200 cash stuck inside in a gas station restroom. I was standing in line holding it to turn it in, and a woman rushed to the restroom and then came out all frantic. I step out of line, ask her if she lost something. She tells me yes. I give it back to her, and she starts ranting about how all the money better be there and calling me names, screaming about how I was going to steal her money. The gas station clerk and a bunch of people are arguing. I'm wondering where the hidden cameras are and wishing I had kept it. Story 11. Was head over heels in love with a girl for 2 years in high school, junior, senior years. She had a boyfriend who was a bit douchey, and finally senior year she left him. Her best friend, a guy, grew up across the street from her. The two of them were extremely close. We were hanging out having a fantastic time, and she asked me if she should consider him. I could have said that'd be silly and it would ruin their friendship. I could have swooped right in since there were strong feelings. I told her she should. They were just too perfect together. They're married with 2 children. Possibly the most unselfish thing I've ever done. Did this guy never make a move at all? It's good that he considered her feelings, but at this point I think he's got an unrealistic view of this girl that's probably not like her real personality. Did he move on after this? I hope so. Story 12. An ex-girlfriend showed up at a show I played on Sunday. I'm in the process of splitting up with my wife, and she knows it and was all over me. I told her she needed to go home, and her reply was, my home or yours? When the chance of spicy time is 100%, it's difficult to say no. But she liked me way more than I liked her, and I'm not ready for anything like that yet, and I know it would just end with her being hurt, which I can't do. So I went home alone. Damn it. Story 13. I used to be a slot machine attendant in a casino. I was the person who would hand-pay jackpots that were above $250. One time, a guy won $150,000 and offered me $1,500 as a tip. Unfortunately, the casino that I worked at was owned by the government, and I was not allowed to take tips. It was so difficult to decline. $1,500 was more than I made in an entire week. Story 14. Was out for my nightly walk and was walking through the Boston Public Gardens in front of the Four Seasons Hotel. Well, I found a wallet with well over $1,000 and multiple credit cards. Being a broke college student, for a brief moment, this was a goldmine. In the end, I decided to bring it into the hotel and leave it at the front desk. Not sure how the guy found me, honestly, but later that week he sent me a very nice thank you text message. Felt good about that one. Wealthy man, excellent detective skills. This would have been a tempting one for anybody. Who couldn't use $1,000? And how did this guy find him afterwards? I think that shows that if the dude had taken the wallet, it would have ended up badly for him. He would have been caught pretty easily. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video, and have a wonderful day. Story 15. Recently, so recently it still hurts, I said no to getting back with my girlfriend that I'm still in love with. We'd been living together, and after trying to make it work for far too long, I broke up with her after one of her childish tantrums. I had been in an emotionally abusive marriage for 15 years, and she knew that. Her behavior was a deal breaker for me, and I put up with it for too long already. We tried talking about it, and I almost gave in, but after only 1 week, she was right back at it. I'm still in love with her, but finally love myself enough to know how I deserve to be treated. Man, I'm going to miss her. Story 16. Friend in college. He was a math genius. Passed his actuarial exams as a sophomore. He called me a couple years later and offered me a job as his partner laundering money. Told me I would get a 50% cut. He made $250,000 in a year, whereas I made $30,000. Sometimes I wish I didn't have morals. Edit. First gold. Thanks, kind stranger. Story 17. When I was 15, woke up with my brother's girlfriend straddling me with her top off. She started grinding and I was in a dreamlike state of, what's happening? Okay, sure, that feels nice. Then I woke up fully and was like, whoa, you gotta get up. She didn't, so I turned to my side and pretended to go back to sleep. She made a disgusted noise and left. She was a really hot redhead, and I hated my brother, but still did the right thing. I mean, he said he hated his brother. Did the brother pick on him all the time? I know it's the right thing, but man, this could have been a big equalizer for all the bad behavior. Hopefully, the girlfriend didn't try to get this guy in trouble by saying he came on to her. Story 18. Leaving the financial security of my marriage to save myself and children from torment. I married an Iraq War veteran in 2004 with a host of emotional issues. I won't get into the detail here, but we left at 7 a.m. on a June morning, thinking we could stay with a friend. It turned out that her husband said no. So my kids and I, with only about $8, spent the day at various playgrounds, using gas station bathrooms and eating cookies. We slept in my car, a tiny Ford Focus, that night and went to my job the next day and showered and ate. We stayed there, and it took 12 days to get emergency housing and food assistance. I got a panic attack even typing this out, having to relive those 2 weeks and subsequent 18 months in hell. It was so bad, I almost asked my ex to let us come back. Story 19. Do you love me? Didn't love her at the time. Didn't want to be pressured into dishonesty. She didn't take it very well. On the plus side, that was in 2013, and we're still dating. She's since come to appreciate my honesty. And yes, I do love her now. Story 20. Some guy dropped a wad of hundreds at a taco stand while paying. I pointed it out to him, and he picked it up and didn't even say thanks. Guy behind me paid for my tacos and said should have taken it. Still feel good I did the right thing. Edit. Gold and free tacos for doing the right thing are pretty cool. I saw a guy drop a $5 bill in a bar once. I pointed it out to him, and he got all hot-headed and said, "Why you looking at my money?" I can understand if someone got caught trying to palm the money he dropped, but if someone points out money that you dropped and you needed, a thank you would be courteous. Why be rude to someone like that? It just might make the next person not feel bad the next time you drop money and not notice so they can pick it up. And yes, free tacos are always a good thing. Story 21. Sounds funny now, but was no joke at the time. Met a girl on a dating site, and she asked if the next time we met, it could be at her place and I could bring some nose candy for a fun night together. I had a nightmare about her that night and simply forgot I was bringing the powdered pharmaceuticals. Walked into a sting operation with a sandwich. If that nightmare wasn't a heads up from someone or something. Whoa. We talk about gut feelings and such. I think nightmares can sometimes be our brain trying to alert us to gut feelings we may seriously be suppressing. Was this sting operation random? Or was this guy being targeted for prior stuff? I bet he was glad to be free thanks to a sandwich. Story 22. Anal spicy time. Was having normal vaginal spicy time with a girl and was close, like vinegar strokes close, and she just randomly asked if I wanted to do anal. In my highly aroused state, I didn't want any interruption, so I groaned and roared, "Shut the hell up," before finishing. What can I say? I don't like to be interrupted when I'm that close. It throws off my concentration. Story 23. Committing unaliveness. It really seemed like the right thing to do at the time and would have been so easy. Standing up to myself took a lot of willpower and still takes a conscious effort. Every day since then feels like a step in the right direction. Being able to experience the future firsthand is something I would never want to give up willingly. Story 24. Alcohol before a job interview. I am way less anxious when tipsy, and the lack of anxiety makes my mind clear up, allowing me to act and move more naturally. But I know you can never hide the smell well, and I really didn't want to cross myself before even getting the chance. I wonder how much control this person has over how much he drinks. From this story, it sounds like he knows when to back off. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who is addicted and absolutely has to have a drink all the time. I hope he got the job. Story 25. X was offering massages for $80, professional, to save up for a pyramid scheme self-help class, and said mine would come with a happy ending. Really wanted to take her up. I had been sleeping with her for 3 months after we ended the relationship, but I couldn't justify giving her money for the class. Story 26. At one of my first jobs, was 15 or 16 at the time, I got a paycheck that the bank fudged a decimal on. It was a ton more than I should have been paid, and I totally could have cashed it, and it would have been the bank's fault, not even my work, but I gave it back to my boss and waited to get another one. Story 27. I saw 2 full bags of powdered pharmaceuticals outside my apartment about 4 or 5 months after getting clean. Noped it up and kept on moving. Where is this person living where he's getting this kind of delivery? Was that the way he was getting it before? And how did he know what it was? For all he knew, it could have been sugar or flour. Was he that sensitive to his cravings? Story 28. It's very hard to eat healthy when you work with 3 Filipino women at work that always bring free, amazing food. And then I go visit my in-laws on the weekend. Father-in-law was a chef for 10 years. I'm down 80 pounds, but my soul is a bitter, empty husk where my belly once was. Story 29. Was making minimum wage where it would be easy and rampant to steal cash since there wasn't a register or any way to monitor. Was hungry, late on rent, and eating ketchup packets. Was hard to stay strong, but I was glad I did it in the end. Story 30. Some girl invited me to a party. When I got there, it was just her at the door, wearing a robe, with her hair just washed and smelling all nice. I left. Am married. This happened when I was at another location for work for weeks at a time. Oh, did this girl know he was married? If so, then shame on her. This guy was definitely tempted. Glad he noped out of there. Every second he hesitated was a move to a disastrous decision. Story 31. I'm probably too late to this thread, but I could have totally lost my virginity to a girl when I was 16. Parents weren't home. She wanted it, but I was trying to be a gentleman and just steered us away from it. Turns out she had chlamydia and was total batnuts crazy. Story 32. Staying in state for college. It would have been a hell of a lot cheaper. Would have been around my friends and family. Absolutely no regrets. Story 33. After breaking up with my girlfriend, who I was living with at the time, we had a final talk and I was going to go home that night. Lots of tears, my heart breaking, her begging me to stay, and it killed me to say no. There are times where it's difficult to end things even though we know we have to. If he had stayed, I think it would have been more awkward in the morning. I hope they both moved on to better things. It's amazing how only a few words can have such big emotions. Story 34. Being offered powdered pharmaceuticals after I went to rehab. Man, I should probably go to rehab. Edit. This wasn't a joke. I probably should go to rehab, but that's just between us. Story 35. I was single and hadn't had any kind of spicy contact in about a year. Got drunk at a party and so did my female coworker. She practically begged me to let her give me a BJ or have spicy time with her. She had a fiance and it's freaking always bros over hoes. Story 36. I had a dream that young Johnny Depp wanted to bone me. Dream me really considered it, but then thought that it wouldn't be worth how much it would hurt my significant other, so I said no. I'm sure Dream's significant other is proud of you for saying no. Do you think this is taking it a bit too far? I mean, this is your dreams. But then again, girls will get mad at you if they have a dream where they imagine you cheating on them. If that's what they dreamt and they're mad, doesn't that really mean they're mad at themselves? Story 37. Extramarital spicy time. Bless my heart or whatever you want. Saying no in those instances were personal choices that I simultaneously am. Story 38. What the hell? All of these are spicy stories. I once walked away from a box of fresh warm donuts. I still think about that. Now that's the type of story I want to hear more about. What kind of donuts? Was it a variety? Were they expensive? Were they frosted? Details, man, details. Story 39. Not an answer, but shout out to original poster for replying to each and every reply. Shame I have no weird chokers to PM him. Story 40. $30,000 for marrying a guy for a green card. I was 18, broke, and seriously considered it for a week. Story 41. Just realized a lot of mine involve strippers. I think the truth is I had a hard time saying no to strip clubs. It's like casinos. Everything is designed to keep you in there. No outside windows. Everyone pretends to want you there. The more you watch, the more you want to stay. It's pretty insidious, really. Story 42. Currently, a donut. Losing weight is hard. Story 43. My dog is begging for a treat. Her 5th treat in a 6-hour span. Story 44. Refusing to take a sample from the Costco lady. That is the absolute truth. I'm sure a lot of people that just ate a full 8-course meal will go to Costco and still take free samples. It's free. You don't want to pass that up. It might be really delicious. Do you really want to miss that chance? Story 45. This question makes me realize I don't say no much. Story 46. Original poster's mom for only $2.95 a minute. Story 47. Powdered pharmaceuticals. 101 days clean. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.